let me tell you something, brother. When I'm working on my 24-inch pythons, dude, I'm listening to Let's Find Out with Diego. Train, say your prayers, and listen to Let's Find Out with Diego. Ooh, what you gonna do, brother, when Let's Find Out with Diego runs wild on you?
Are you curious about the unknown, the unexplainable? Do you find yourself intrigued by the mysterious and paranormal side of our world? Join us on an adventure into the world of inexplicable discoveries and investigations that may someday give us the final answer as to what may be behind the veil of reality. The borders of space and time have opened once again, and transmitting from the mountains of West Virginia, it's time once again for Let's Find Out with Diego. The universe is waiting for you.
The borders of space and time have opened once again, and transmitting from the mountains of West Virginia. It's another episode of Let's Find Out with Diego. Thank you for taking this journey with me. On this episode of Let's Find Out, our guest started his career filming exotic pets worldwide. His travels led him to explore breathtaking locations. When COVID restrictions halted his adventures, he fearlessly delved into the mystery of Bigfoot, creating 10 captivating documentaries titled Searching for Sasquatch. Alongside being an author of 4 children's books and a Bigfoot comic book, our guest is currently working on a new documentary set for release later in 2024. Join us in welcoming this daring explorer, photojournalist, award-winning filmmaker, and Bigfoot researcher, Jason Kenzie. Jason, my friend, welcome to Let's Find Out. I'm glad I caught you before you headed out into the wilderness for a whole new adventure.
Well, I'm glad to be here. Thank you so much.
No, and I was going through your notes, and I mean, I didn't even know where to begin with your journey because you go far back, and up to now, you have 10 documentaries. Actually, I think you're working on a new one coming out. And,
Yep.
Well, before we get into the whole side of the Bigfoot investigation, I was reading in your bio about the time when you were an exotic pet photographer. That's pretty cool stuff because, how did you get into photographing exotic animals? Because that can be kind of dangerous, right?
That's why I do it, because I love the danger of it. I started out as a wedding and an event photographer. And then one day someone approached me and said, "Hey, would you take photos of my little dog?" And at the time, I had no idea that people, got photos of their dogs. So I met him, did the photo shoot. It went awesome. He told me a bunch of amazing stories about his little dog that really impressed me. And I thought, wow, I wonder if other people had other interesting stories about their pets. And so I started doing dogs and cats. And then one day, a guy came to me and said that he had a pet caiman in his basement. And he had designed this aquarium that he would house it. It was a 4-foot caiman. So I told my friends I'm about to go and photograph this caiman, this crocodile-like creature a guy has as a pet. And no one believed me. But my friends didn't believe that someone had a caiman as a pet. So I went and picked up a video camera at the store because I was going to prove to them, look, I'm going to be doing this. And I went, did the photo shoot. It was amazing. There was no cages. The thing could have just jumped out and bit me. I was like three feet from it at times, and the video went good. And from there, it started like a snowball effect, where his friends who saw video and photos, they actually contacted me and wanted me to take photos of their snakes and their giant spiders. And then I went and photographed a guy in the United States that had a tiger as a pet. And that guy was well known in the exotic pet industry. And then I went and photographed a 900-pound, no, it was actually probably an 800-pound grizzly bear that was a pet. And from there, just, people would contact me. I mean, I would see the photos I took, and And it was amazing. And that's why I got into doing exotic animals. It was a little bit more dangerous. Then I would go into the wilderness and take photos of wild animals. Yeah, it was great.
Very interesting now, because I don't know about the laws on your side of the world where you're at, but I know at least here that it's there are certain things where it's illegal to own certain type of animals. When your clients approach you and they say, "Hey, come film this," is there some sort of an agreement that you won't disclose who?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
And in fact, with the grizzly bear and with the tiger, I wasn't even allowed to keep footage of it. They were so strict on not releasing the photos and the video of my interaction. But I'm not like, my motto is, if I'm going to take photos of your exotic animal or any of your animals, no cages. I have to be able to quote unquote hug the animal. So yeah, I'm playing with the tiger. I'm playing with the grizzly bear. Yeah, it was pretty exciting. And yeah, there was quite a few people that didn't want me to release where the location is, and I stand by my word. And I take it, even when I film my Bigfoot documentaries, people who I interview, if they ask me not to reveal their identity, no problem doing it. I can black their face out, change their voice, and no matter how many people want me to, you know, give them, give them up, or I will not, because trust is everything in this business.
That's so very true, because I've had not long ago I interviewed somebody who that were willing to tell me their Bigfoot witness story, but I of course changed the name, and like you and I were doing video and audio, but I didn't even have the video on her, just a microphone. And interview turned out pretty well. I think you have to gain the trust of the person you're interviewing in order to get a good story out of them. But on the other side of the exotic pets thing, going back to real quick, you went to Cuba. How did somebody from Cuba approach you to take?
So
Is this
I,
a
I went.
yeah?
I actually went to Cuba to um, to film the tiniest bats on the planet, and then I went and filmed a guy who raised. He didn't raise them actually. He, for like 20 years, he's been feeding the tiniest hummingbirds on the planet, and they're tiny. They're like the size of. They're called um, butterfly bats and bee hummingbirds, and they're like really tiny. So here I am walking around in these caves looking for the tiniest bats on the planet, and then selling the photos to agencies because they're rare to find. And so yeah, it was like it was a vacation. I don't know if I would go back to Cuba. You know, I'd rather go to Mexico. Um, to me, I thought Cuba was very similar. Like if I blindfolded you and took you to Cuba, took off the blindfold and told you were in Mexico, you'd believe me, right? Because it's very similar,
Wow,
and a little bit more expensive. Actually, it's a lot more expensive than Mexico.
that's very interesting. So the world's smallest hummingbird. So how would you photograph something like that? Because I see that their wings flap around so quickly. So how did you
So
accomplish getting a good shot?
so I had some really good lenses, and my skills have improved over the years. So it's a matter. So hummingbirds are very curious creatures. They will actually come up to you. They will land on your shoulder. They will land on your hat. And so when I walked into this guy's backyard, I was surrounded instantly by, I would say, 20 buzzing around my head and in front of my face, wondering. I swear, I looked one of them in the eye as it was in front of my face, and I swear it was basically saying, "Who are you? Who are you? Who are you?" It was the most amazing experience, and they were just flying around you. I mean, this guy, he's been feeding these hummingbirds, wild hummingbirds, for 20 years, so they're so used to human. But yeah, it's so you have to wait till they're right in front of you, and then you just put your camera on a very fast shutter. And then, if you open up the AP a little bit, you'll get the wings blurry, but you'll get the hummingbird nice and crisp. And the great thing about these hummingbirds is if you move the camera at a certain angle so you get the light shining on it just right, you actually will get bright pink, blue, and purple, and green, all shimmering. But you have to catch it at the right angle, and you have to kind of move your body just right. The pictures were incredible.
Man, it sounds incredible too, because they're very beautiful creatures. I think we have a hummingbird feeder in front of our house, but this they come and go so quickly. But the obvious question to you, my friend, is this: because there comes a time where Lady Luck may not be on your side. Has there been an instance while you're photographing these exotic animals that did you have a close call of any kind, like a little snip at you or anything like that?
Many times. I was in my early years. There was a guy that owned two 10-foot alligators in his place, and he had built a big like a swimming pool, a shallow swimming pool in the other room. So I walked in, and I was eager. I'm like, "Oh, where are they?" And he's talking to my camera person and points, "Oh, they're in that room." And so he turns to talk to my camera person, and I go walking into the room, not realizing that these two alligators were friendly to him, but they came. One of them, there's only one that was in front of me, and it came just out of the water, and I fell onto my back and was doing kind of like a crawl backwards, kicking it, trying to get out. And lucky for me, the door was still open, and so he comes flying in, and he grabs the alligator and stops it from making me lunch, which is kind of good because I'm pretty sure I taste terrible. So I wouldn't want to give the alligator a stomach ache. That'd be terrible.
Oh no, absolutely terrifying, man. You're braver than most people I know.
So another time, a lady had 5 wolves, and these are real wolves. They weren't dog wolves. They were actual gray wolves, Arctic wolf, giant wolves. 5 of them, and she had just brought in a young one, and here I am. And I've been trained on how, with dogs, how to train dogs. So when dogs jump up, you're supposed to just give them a little nudge with your knee on their chest, just to, stop, get down. And so the younger wolf, kind of jumped up to lick my face, and I instantaneously put my knee on his chest to push him down. And you're not supposed to do that. Wolves will not forgive you. And so I kind of disrespected him, and he attacked me, and I was wearing this nice leather jacket, and he bit me in the the pinky, and then latched onto my arm, and then the owner comes running over and grabs the wolf and pulls him off me, and then I got out of the big enclosure, and I looked down at my my arm, and I was expecting to see my leather jacket ripped apart, and it didn't have a scratch on it, which really shocked me. And it's the leather jacket you see in all my documentaries. It's like my go-to, jacket that I wear, and it doesn't have a scratch on where the wolf latched on, which I was surprised. But yeah, I've been bit by snakes. I had the world's largest tarantula crawling all over me, and some of the hairs of it got on me, and it was really itchy. Yeah, it just comes with the territory. Uh, I can't say I have no fear because I fear everything, but
It's a healthy fear. It's a respect for the animal, and you're in the type of environment, you're there for serious business. You're not there to play around. But I'm thinking about your leather jacket. If your leather jacket could write a book, what a story it would tell.
boy, would it ever. It would. It would be like, it definitely would say, like, the first thing it would say is, Jason, please put on some underarm deodorant. Please, for the love of God.
No, I understand that because the locations you go is probably hot as hell. But so now we're gonna jump into the future a little bit because much like with you, once COVID hit, everything changed because I think we all had to change our behaviors, unfortunately, due to closures and travel restrictions. Actually, that's how I got into the podcasting game. But back then, a partner and I were throwing wrestling events, and we couldn't do anything, so we started a podcast. Fast forward, now I have this show. In your case, this is how your journey started with researching, investigating, and documenting Bigfoot encounters for the Searching for Sasquatch series. It's a hell of a leap from exotic pet photography to now we're going into the woods, into the wilderness, searching and interviewing people talking about Bigfoot. But prior to you starting this part, were you interested in this subject, or do you know somebody, or did you have any experience with the cryptids like that?
So, my entire life, I've always gone hiking and camping, and we always hear the legends of these Sasquatch people, even as a child, even in my teenage years. And, we'd always, poke fun at the subject, right? With our, oh, you're getting up from the campfire, you're going to take a pee in the bushes. Let's hope Sasquatch grabs you, we always poke fun. And then I was like maybe a 20% believer. And when COVID hit, I wasn't able to, travel, do anything. And I live 45 minutes away from Harrison Hot Springs. So one of my friends said, Jay, why don't you why don't you go and do a documentary on Bigfoot? So I have about 400 animal adventure documentaries. They're small, they're short, sometimes 5 minutes, sometimes 15 minutes, sometimes half an hour long. And they're all on my YouTube channel. But knowing animals, I thought, well, maybe Sasquatch is an animal of some kind. And I went and interviewed this person, this eyewitness that doesn't live too far away from me. And they pointed me to someone else. And I went and interviewed them. And then I thought, well, I'm gonna take my video camera, I'm gonna film the interviews. And then they pointed me to this area, like to the First Nations people, and they told me of a place where they know that the Sasquatch people live. And so deep in the forest. So I went to this area, and sometimes I would hike in, sometimes I'd take a helicopter in and get dropped off. And while I was hiking in the wilderness, I found a lake that had hundreds of these giant footprints going right through this lake.
Wow.
And while I'm standing on the edge of this lake, you can see all the footprints in this lake. And the lake is probably about 2 feet deep, 3 feet deep. And I took a drone and I droned the lake, and you could see from above all the trackway. And I found trees that were ripped out of the ground and moved and turned upside down and ran back into the ground. I found some of the strangest tree structures. The X's, I've found trees that were huge, 30 feet tall, with kind of leaned together in a giant X with another tree on top. And I took the footprint video to the First Nations people, and they told me that I found the migration path of the Sasquatch people that go from Alaska all the way to California. So I put this in my first documentary, Searching for Sasquatch, The Crossing, and it just kind of blew up online. It got like hundreds of thousands of views. And then I started getting messages from Bigfoot groups asking if I want to come out to them and do a video. I film them going out looking, so I would do that. I'd go out, I'd fly all over North America. I'd go deep into the forest with them, and the crazy stuff that I've seen. throughout the years. It's just been incredible.
During your travels and doing the research into Bigfoot, I can understand in your part of the world where you're comfortable going to the wilderness there, you know the locations and where to go. When you travel to another country, how do you prepare yourself to be, I guess, in territory you haven't been at yet?
So a lot of times the people that the researchers that hire me or the researchers that fly me in, they'll tell me kind of where we're going to go. So I'll go on Google Earth and I will look up the area. Sometimes I'll make a phone call and just ask the local rangers, about the area. I'd look up pictures because nowadays everyone takes photos of their hiking. And then I would find groups in that area sometimes and I would ask questions. I'd ask if there's anybody seen weird creatures, the howls, the screams, and I would just prepare myself. I would find out what animals are in that area. That's one of the biggest things, because I want to I want to see if there's cougar. I want to see if there's bear. Bobcats. Have you ever heard a bobcat in the forest? I swear to God, if you don't know what they sound like, you would definitely think they were Sasquatch. But yeah, that's how I prepare myself. And mentally, I then I go through my head on how I'm going to film it. How the people I'm going to interview. Different angles, different what I need to make one of my documentaries.
And it's interesting that you mentioned that, talking about the people you've interviewed. Much like this show, there are certain stories that stick to you, and sometimes they've kept me up at night because sometimes the stories are incredibly sad or they're shocking of what they've seen. And you have hundreds, maybe even thousands of hours worth of material that you've recorded and content.
Yeah,
You don't have to name names or anything, but there's like a one or two particular stories that stick to you to this day.
yeah. So I talked to a guy that it was kind of sad to me because he put his golden retriever outside to take a pee, and then he heard it yelp, and he goes running outside, and with his flashlight, he's looking around, and he turned around, and the light just 20 feet away, this Sasquatch was standing there holding his dog, and he said he just looked at the dog's. The dog was just looking at his master, and the Bigfoot just turned around and just took a few steps and was gone. And when he was telling me the story, he was crying, right? Because it was his baby, his dog, and he was terrified of what he was seeing. But he was when everything settled down, he got so upset because his dog is gone, and he doesn't know if the Bigfoot's going to eat him, or if the Bigfoot was just mad at humans and just wanted to take the dog. And either way, he knew the dog, was going to be killed. That was one that was really touching. There was another one where I interviewed a guy who said that a Sasquatch walked in front of him. It was at nighttime, and it stopped, looked at him, and then it growled, and then the Sasquatch made a fist. And he had a gun, so he took the gun and he shot the Sasquatch, and the Sasquatch fell to the ground. And then he turned and ran to his truck and took off. So that was an interesting. That's you can actually see that documentary in Searching for Sasquatch 5, the Texas Screams. And when you see it, you'll understand what I'm talking about when I say the Texas Screams. That was one of the more exciting expeditions I've been on. Like, just imagine being surrounded by something or some things screaming and roaring and howling and all around you for like an hour, like straight, just all around you. And then you get the coyotes howling at the same time or just after, and which was exciting for me because when I can tell the difference, you could hear the difference between the coyotes and whatever these other creatures were that were howling. Because coyotes, when they about to howl, they bark. They give a bit of a yip yip, when they're about to howl. Where this other creatures may be Bigfoot, They don't bark or yip yip. They go straight to the long howl. Like I have audio of some of the best roars that I've ever heard in my life. And there's four audio files, and one is just a blood curdling roar, and the second audio is like 6 or 7 of them all going off, roaring and howling and screaming. And if I think that it's either just as good or even better than the Sierra sounds. That's only my opinion. But if you heard it, you'd understand.
Now, speaking of something you mentioned earlier about the gentleman that shot the Bigfoot, when you go out into the wilderness and you do your investigations, do you go armed? And I'm saying this only because for your self-protection, not that you're going out there hunting to kill or any animal, but in order for protection, do you go armed yourself?
No, I don't have a gun. I'll have a knife. I'll have pepper spray. I'll have my legs and my blood curdling, baby scream as I'm running for my life. But I don't carry a gun. A lot of times when I go out with researchers, a couple of the researchers always have a gun with them. But literally the gun is for, real animals that we know that are out there, like bears and cougars.
With talking about doing your research with other investigators, who have you gone out there with?
Chad Dateman. I've been out there. I've been out with the Sasquatchers. Todd Parsons. I've been out with Todd. Robert Kreider. I've been out with. There's a couple of really cool researchers that I'm about to go out with that I can't really talk. I can't say who they are yet because I'm really excited, and it's coming out. It's a later documentary that I'm filming, and I'm not putting it out there quite yet. But everyone's going to know when the time comes when I launch it. So I have 14 Bigfoot documentaries out there right now, 14. And I'm about to film 5 more this summer in May, June, July, August, September.
And I know you're getting ready to go off to do one of those, one of the adventures. And let me ask you this: since you can't disclose right now who you're going to go with or what you're going to do, what locations are you going to?
So I'm going to be going to Kentucky. I'm going to be going to Wisconsin, Minnesota. I'm going to be going to Florida to do a second skunk ape documentary. And I'm going to be going to the Ozarks and then I'm going to be doing a documentary on the Jersey Devil, Mothman, Dogman. What else am I doing? I'm doing the skunk ape. Eventually, it may not be this year, but it's going to be like maybe 2025. I'm going to go searching for evidence of the flying dinosaurs of New Mexico. So that's going to be exciting.
Well, that sounds pretty awesome. You're talking about Mothman. That's you're looking into West Virginia territory.
Yep.
You see my Mothman cap I'm wearing right now, and that's really big here in West Virginia. And also, Bigfoot and Flatwoods monsters. We have them all here. And while you're doing not only the photography, but you're doing the documentaries, you're interviewing people, you found time somehow to publish 4 children's books.
Yes.
How did you find the time to write these, and which cryptids make their appearances in these books?
So I have 4 of them. 2 of them, so they're called Adventures of Little JJ, LILJJ, JAYJAY. Adventures of Little JJ, and it's about a 6-year-old boy that uses his imagination to travel around the world, making new animal friends. So number 1 little JJ goes and travels, and he meets all these animals that help him along this adventure. Book 2, it has little JJ goes on a quest into the ocean to look for a golden pearl, and gets helped by an octopus, a shark, jellyfish, a turtle, all kinds of like goodies. And then the second one has little JJ, a little female Sasquatch gets lost, a little child Sasquatch gets lost from her family, and little JJ, with the help from a little ghost, Moth Boy, the Loch Ness Monster, and Mothman or Moth Boy, or yeah, and they go on a quest through the forest and over the oceans to take the little Sasquatch girl back to her family back on Cryptid Island. And then book 2, I put the She Squatchers in as little kids, and we had to, with the same little Sasquatch girl, we had to find a special flower on the top of a mountain. So we had to go on a quest. As you notice, I really love quests and adventures. I really loved Indiana Jones and Lord of the Rings and all those quests, Hobbit. So yeah, we went on a quest to find this little flower on top of a mountain, and the Bigfoots would grow this flower, and they would eat the flower, and it would give them their ability of invisibility, strength, stink, and speed. And so that's what the children's books are made to help children not be afraid of animals and not be afraid of cryptids. Like, hey, little child, go hiking in the forest where there's big, giant, hairy creatures that could kill you in a second. No, yeah, this book is good for the whole family. I put some big words in the book, so the children would say to their parents, "What does that word mean?" And then the parents would explain, like cryptid. What's cryptid? I wanted that. I wanted parents and adults to be able to read it. And then I published a comic book called "Searching for Sasquatch," and the hidden, the lost treasure of the hidden treasure in the valley of the Bigfoots. And same thing. A group of Bigfoot researchers go into the forest searching for evidence of this creature that stole a dog, and goes through like a wormhole, and goes through into a whole other realm where there's pterodactyls. Then they get surrounded by Bigfoots. They find this treasure, and Jason, which, all the researchers are based on real people. So, I got greedy and I wanted the gold, and I can't leave until I get the gold. And the Bigfoots are fighting us, and we're fighting the Bigfoots, and there's a big twist at the end. And yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun to make these. And I just wanted to, same thing. I wanted children to be able to read it, that no one dies in it, right? Lots of action. You have to pick one up when you get a chance. You can find them. You can find everything on Amazon Prime, Walmart.com, Barnes and Noble. Yeah, you can find it all over the place. You just Google my name, Jason Kenzie.
Oh, I'll definitely download a copy of my own and order one through a physical copy as well. And something very interesting as I was on your YouTube channel today, and because I like to see some of the work that you're doing, so we can have something great to talk about tonight. And one of the things that stuck out to me, I don't know how long ago this video was made, but I think this is very helpful advice that you're putting out there. That it doesn't, not only does it pertain to filming or taking photos of our Bigfoot, but also it could cross over to paranormal or any other thing. Is you give some tips for folks to while they're out there documenting these things on how to take pictures or film, let's say, of Bigfoot. So if you don't mind, I know we're coming up on the clock, but can you give some of those tips tonight to the listeners of Let's Find Out if they ever go out there and try to look for something? how to photograph or film these things correctly.
Yeah. So, see, the thing is, when I gave those tips are basically the same tips you can use for filming or photographing animals, right? So you can use this to film any animal out there. So, if you watched it, one of the tips is you take your phone and you put it on your forehead. And and it might be silly, but use it as a stabilization. Because once you put your phone on your forehead, now it doesn't shake, and you can move your head back and forth. You can lean your phone against a tree, like put it against a tree, and that is stabilization, right? Because you're going to be freaking out if you see a Bigfoot. Like, right? You can use, open your aperture, put up your speed, and make sure you don't crap yourself when you see this Bigfoot. There's, they're very simple tricks that you can use to take photos of Bigfoots or even any animal. And if worse comes to worse, your last resort is you can throw your device at the animal. So, you may not get good shots,
Yes.
but at least you might have 10 seconds of running.
It's just like the bad guys back in the day when they ran out of bullets, they just threw the gun at Superman. I mean, it didn't really work, but hey, you try your best there. So,
Yeah, exactly. Right.
for the listeners of Let's Find Out that want to know more about your projects, your documentaries, and your photojournalism, and what you're going to be doing next, where's the best place that they can go and find this information at?
So if you were just to Google Jason Kenzie Animal Adventures, or Jason Kenzie Searching for Sasquatch, even Jason Kenzie, Kenzie comic books, you can find everything. All my documentaries are on Tubi. So if you have Tubi, if you know Tubi, you can open up on the app. You can open it up, and then in the search bar on Tubi, you just put my name, Jason Kenzie, and all 14 documentaries will come up, including 2 paranormal ones. Because I've done 3 paranormal ones, and the third one is about the launch. It should be on Tubi in a few weeks. Yeah, you can just find it anywhere online. I have a website which is called searchingforsasquatch.ca, so you can find me there. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok. I will not sing in a Sasquatch outfit. Okay, so you will not see that on TikTok. I am a terrible singer.
Well, now you got to have to, because you say you wouldn't. Now you have to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, my friend, and I appreciate you being on the phone. Be very careful out there, and if you don't mind, I know you're about to film a whole bunch of new stuff, but once you get done, you're getting ready to release it. It would be great if you come back on this show and we could talk about it some more on there.
Yeah, oh, I would love to, for sure. Yeah, definitely send you a message. And like I said, there's going to be a lot of stuff coming up in the future. There's some crazy fun stuff that I'm going to be doing. So, and there's another paranormal adventure one coming out with, I went and I did the Goat Man at the Poplick Bridge. I went to the Story Inn. That was fun. The Blue Lady Room. So there's a lot of really fun stuff that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing gnomes, searching for evidence of like the little people. I don't know if I'm going to do Loch Ness Monster, but there's going to be, I don't know if I'm going to do yeah, I don't know. There's some cryptids I'm going to dwell into a lot of cryptids, like the death worm. That would be fun to do. I know here on the Pacific West Coast, we're allegedly supposed to have like 4-foot long salamanders, like 4 feet long, like a big giant salamander that people have seen just along, and just along one of these trails, just in Washington and Oregon. So I'll go searching for them. And and if I disappear, I got kidnapped by Bigfoot. That's just how I'm going to say it.
And you hear it here first. Thank you,
Yeah.
my friend, for coming on this show, and please stay safe out there, all right?
Thank you so much. And you have a great rest of the day.
Thank you, my friend. This
All
has
right.
been another excellent episode of Let's Find Out with Diego. Please check us out on all our social media, YouTube, and we're also on Rumble. Like, share, and subscribe. Also, Let's Find Out is now on KGRA Digital Broadcasting. Catch the show on Saturdays at 2 a.m. For more information, please visit KGRADB.com. Thank you for taking this journey with me. Until next time, my friends.
Let's find out with Diego, the power of Diego Mania.
All content for Let's Find Out is property of CoHostDiego and is served directly from our servers with no modification, redirects, or rehosting. All celebrity impersonators are paid performers. The impersonated celebrities do not endorse or promote any views or opinions expressed by our guests, CoHostDiego, or Let's Find Out. The information shared on Let's Find Out is provided on an as-is basis, with no guarantees of completeness, accuracy, usefulness, or timeliness.